eventually.
Eventually,
Now,
okay.
I think this is.
So Mike, here, I'm gonna put us here so you have equal access to the, oh, okay. Okay, fine, whatever.
Okay, I think we're ready to go. We're being recorded now.
Yikes, we have to be on our best behavior. Oh, we're about to go right on.
There we go.
There water.
Yeah, so now we can't see them.
Almost there.
There's one there too.
Wow, Delia, you're a whiz.
That is slowly coming up.
Maybe everybody has a camera.
No, because I can see them there.
We can see ourselves here.
Can they hear you?
Can you hear us? All right, yeah.
So the only issue we're having now is that we just can't see everyone.
So Teams here has a red dot and there's a red dot up here. What does that mean?
It's recording.
Oh,
Yeah, we can edit it out. But the only issue is that you all just can't see everyone for some reason. It's not coming up. So
but we can see them
yeah,
here.
Okay, yeah, so that's good then. They
Yeah.
can see you then.
Okay.
And then if
Okay.
they can hear you, then.
Can they hear you?
Are you able to hear us?
Oh,
Yeah, they're all shaking.
Yeah.
hands.
Yep.
And they can hear you?
But can we hear the speaker here? Okay. Can someone just say something so we can make sure we can hear you?
Testing. Can you hear us?
Yeah, you don't want to change the thing.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Here, maybe that, try that.
Oh yeah, is it, will someone say something now, please?
Sure.
There we go.
There we go. We're all set.
How eloquent.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So I guess we can call the meeting to order.
Delia, thank you.
Yeah, or just turn it all off. Thank you.
It's only taken us 17 minutes.
So I think we can introduce ourselves to each other, I guess, would be to start things off. I guess I'm Mike Marcotte, I'm a state representative from Coventry. I also chair House Commerce and Economic Development, and I also chair the SOCWIT. Senator?
I'm Allison Clarkson. I'm a senator from the Windsor County District. I'm the majority leader of the Senate, and I serve as vice chair of Senate Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs, and on government operations, and serve also on the State Workforce Development Board.
Kendall?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kendall Smith. I'm Governor Scott's Director of Policy Development and Legislative Affairs.
Adam?
Hey everybody, Adam Grinold. I am the Executive Director of the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. We're a regional development corporation in southeastern Vermont, and then I serve as the chair of the State Governor's Workforce Development Board.
Ezra, I'll leave it to you and your team.
All right, thank you. Hi, I'm Ezra Sykes with Public Consulting Group, and I guess my role in this project would be the engagement manager. So I'm in charge of managing the contract, making sure we fulfill our obligations under that, and that would bring the right resources to the table. I'm going to hand it off to Alicia Ordway, who's our project manager for this effort.
Yes, I will be the primary point of contact for you all on this project, and also managing our panel of workforce development experts. And so with that, I will invite Candace. I'll start with those folks affiliated with PCG first. So we have Candace.
Hi, I'm Candace Finney. I'm a Director of Operations for Public Consulting Group. I have been, I'm considered a subject matter expert in workforce development. I manage a team of 8 people who actually do workforce development, and we have done this for more than 2 decades.
Thank you. Nancy.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Nancy Snyder. I'm a workforce and education consultant with about 30 years of experience in workforce development.
Thank you. And then we have some organizational partners that we've brought to the table. So ICF, Mel.
Good afternoon. My name is Mel Arsenault. I'm with ICF. I'm a fairly new, been here since August. I'm a senior workforce consultant, primarily working on apprenticeship programs, but also have about 25 years in workforce development in various roles.
And Mike.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Lawrence. I'm a senior workforce director here at ICF, 45 years in this workforce development business, a lot of the time in Pennsylvania, but I'm doing a lot of work on apprenticeship and work-based learning for about the last 5 years here at ICF.
And I apologize. Let me go back and correct myself. Ryan from the PCG team. So sorry.
Not a problem. My name is Ryan Lachek. I'm a consultant, going to be supporting all aspects of this project, and I have about 8 years of experience in workforce development.
Thank you. And last, from National Association of Workforce Boards, Ron.
Thanks, Alyssa. I'm Ron Painter, and I'm currently with the National Association of Workforce Boards. We represent and advocate for the nation's over 550 local business-led workforce development boards and a number of the state boards. NAWB provides a host of services, from technical assistance to board orientations to working with executive directors on, again, technical issues on the law and regulation with regard to WIOA. I've been in this business quite a while, started just south of Mike in Western Pennsylvania, 3-county rural consortium, have been the director of a workforce development board for an urban area, and now at the national level.
So for the Sockwood team, this is our whole crew, and we're excited that everybody was able to join today for the kickoff. Not sure that everyone will be at every single meeting, but we wanted to just reintroduce you to everybody who will be at minimum working behind the scenes and engaging with stakeholders.
Okay. We have a few others with us. Also, Deputy Commissioner Degree.
Hi, folks. Deputy Commissioner Dustin Degree, Vermont Department of Labor. Here on behalf of the department, we've got some transition going on. So, and Mike is in actually returning home from the NASWA annual meeting where he was just fell into the chairmanship. So, and Sarah Buxton has left state service. So Jay Ramsey will be a member of this team going forward. And I will also be a part of the conversations. Also, Executive Director of the Vermont State Workforce Development Board, and rejoining these conversations from earlier this year. So good to see everybody.
Great.
Tori.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tori Biondolillo. I'm just listening in as I want to know what's going on in all things workforce. I'm the Executive Director for the State Workforce Board.
Abby.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Rim. I'm the Deputy Director of the State Workforce Development Board, just providing admin support for the committee.
Thank you. So I guess we'll leave it up to you now to kick off the meeting.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. You should thank you, Abby, for passing on all of the materials to the committee. I probably would err more on the side of just engaging in more of a conversation. But before I do that, I just want to make sure, does everyone have a copy of the report or is able to access it from your computers? Or not the report, the plan?
So if you
just minimize your screen.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. I just.
Excellent. Okay. So I know a few of you have had a chance to actually engage with the document and really appreciate the feedback that you've already provided us. But what we're hoping to do is just go through, just review a couple of key items to make sure that we're tracking to your expectations, and then we're hoping to linger a little bit longer over a couple of discussion areas. I just wanted to also check, just do a time check. So just to make sure that we manage the time efficiently. So do you have other business that you need to do before we end at 4?
No, just go home.
All right. So let's dive in then. In any case, so the first piece is focusing on the success criteria. We just wanted to make sure we were sort of hitting the mark there. And I think, Kendall, thank you for the feedback. It's helpful to see that the priority is not only the public investments in workforce, but you really are hoping to have us capture the philanthropic and private investments. And I think we didn't highlight it, but go ahead.
Do you want me to put it on the screen? Do you want me to share my screen? Would that be helpful for folks or no?
Sure. I mean, unless everybody has it, I have it up on my computer. Do you mind?
Yeah.
I'm happy to share my screen. I'm going to share the version that I believe Adam was the last to edit, if that is agreeable to everybody. Okay.
Perfect.
Looking at the right document, or we're looking at the project plan?
Yeah, but Adam was the last one.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you, Kendall.
Can folks see my screen?
No. I mean.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, if you go back into Teams.
I know, but if it's just here, that's just as big. Sorry. Okay. I think we're set.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent.
Confirming folks can see my screen. Sorry, with it up, I can't see faces. If you're nodding.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Got it, Kendall.
Great.
Excellent. So I think, just sort of picking up the focus on a very comprehensive look, a snapshot that you're hoping to have us capture on all of the components of workforce writ large. And thank you for highlighting that, we're not only going to focus on the barriers, but we're going to lift up those assets that are happening across the state and the positive pieces as well. But just wondering if there are any other components to what success would look like for the rest of the group.
Sorry. I mean, I haven't had a chance to look at this at all. So, I mean, I didn't realize we were going to be signing off on stuff right today.
And, we can obviously just sort of queue up some discussion today. And then if you have further thoughts later, we can revise it before it's a final plan, of course. Our hope really was to get input and make sure that we were effectively capturing some of the sentiment.
May I ask a question about the success criteria?
Yeah.
It says, so the task force here will have a definitive one source to describe all aspects of the current state of the state system that contextualizes all future decision making. Is that one source that describes the current system? Is that, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that. Is this like a criteria in which we would use to weigh future decisions when you say to have it contextualize future decision making, or is it more like a qualitative description?
I'll respond. I would say it's more. Maybe the language is too strong. Maybe we need to scale it back. I think the intent was really to say this is more than just your Rio estate plan, right? Like you've got everything kind of marshaled, and so with this cataloging, it'll be a useful tool for you going forward. I think was really We can revise that a little bit though. It does, as you read it out loud, I guess it does sound a bit,
It sounds impenetrable.
yeah, yeah, that's a good word for it.
That's what I'm thinking. So for me, we're hopeful we'll end up with a definitive understanding and some options what that the portal is, the umbrella that understands and sees, has eyes on all aspects of our workforce development system in the state. Public, private, all pieces of it, educational, the whole 9 yards. So it not only describes all aspects, but it understands and it is through which all, I mean, it's the overseeing governance that will be the one, I don't know if the right term is the one source, it's the one, it oversees all of state workforce in the state. It's like
a map.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a map, it's it's the governance, it's the leadership. It's the leadership that will help, that under which all state workforce is viewed and organized and coordinated. It's the coordination central. It's like the pilot.
Okay. All right. That's very helpful. Thank you. And I think that also helps us get to the next question I had, which was, well, let me stop actually. Are there other thoughts and reactions to the success criteria? Because I think we want to make sure that we know when you feel like you've gotten what you needed from this project.
Well, I mean, I think you don't have here identify, I mean, I guess describe another subset is identifying all aspects, all components that feed into the current state, the state.
Okay.
So that identify all the components that comprise the workforce development opportunities in the state.
Perfect. Okay, so that's a good segue, I think, if everybody's comfortable with it, to go, Kendall, if you scroll a little bit further down, you know, I think in your documentation, we wanted to make sure that we understand from the get-go sort of how you're defining things. And so what we wanted to do, your RFP and the contract clearly spelled out what you were already including in the workforce system, Perkins, SNAP, etc. But there was a phrase at the end that said like, and all other elements, and other elements identified by the SOCWED. And so in the margins, I offered a couple of things that I thought, oh, well, these could be things that you might want to consider. And we can begin to have a conversation about it, or we can table it for later. But just wanted to flag and see if these are potential resources that you might want us to also investigate. So, you know, are there things that ARPA dollars paid for that we should probably include that in the landscape, even though they're time restricted? Perhaps they were, they were strategic in a certain way, and you want to capture learning about those.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, sorry, Senator, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was gonna say there was some ARPA money that went into workforce activities, primarily through our higher education institutions, that immediately come to mind. We did have some issues with some of the ARPA money that was dedicated to like loan repayment programs, for example, when Treasury guidance came out, because of timelines with loan repayment, that we had to do some accounting changes to something called revenue loss replacement. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole right now. So my point is there are a few ARPA allocations that we could pull. One of the other things that were not identified that I was thinking of, and we'll have to follow up to give you the more specific list, but for example, I don't think it was necessarily in our RFP, but there's a couple programs at our Agency of Commerce and Community Development. We have a Vermont training program. We also have had relocation grants for folks who want to move to Vermont to be hopefully part of the labor force for new and remote workers. So I was thinking there was maybe some other programs across state government that we might want to include, which you might eventually come across in the mapping that we were just talking about, but we'll have to key in on what is important to us and get that to you quickly.
The other piece that when we were putting the RFP together, we wanted to be very explicit was that this was not limited to just core partners, state agencies, departments, but included folks around the periphery of workforce development to include a variety of different private nonprofit organizations that operate in the space.
Right. And if you don't have those, we have an inventory of those. I thought we had given them, but we can get those to you.
Perfect. That's great.
Because it's a whole range of education. It's not just Perkins. Perkins is that where the primary CTE money is? That's where this is.
I assume someone from PCG is taking notes, but another one that immediately comes to mind is our apprenticeship program at the Department of Labor.
An internship, apprentice, and all the apprenticeships, private ones.
Yeah, our work-based learning and training program. So that we have a few, I guess our point is we have a few programs across state government that are funded with our general fund dollars.
Okay.
That might be important to this group to have included that we'll have to call out for you.
Perfect. Okay. We just wanted to make sure that we got the scope clear from the get-go. So that's great. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Just continuing on, not necessarily something that we have to discuss or wordsmith here, but we wanted to also lay out some of the terminology and the lenses through which we'll be looking at organizations and / the governance components. So I think we tried to take kind of given that these would be applied to a variety of contexts, we tried to come up with some language that was pretty high level and transferable, sort of the who, what, where. I think I probably underemphasized the when, because timing is important with all of these. But just thinking through all of these elements around the programs. So, and Kendall, I really appreciate your feedback right up front about the IT systems and the expectations that this is not about a project to focus on tools necessarily, but more about all of the other structures that are shaping the system writ large.
So are you under organizational and governance components?
Yes.
Where are you? Okay.
Yep.
Can you see this app?
But you don't have to show it, it's okay.
Look here.
So I think, there's a question about why differentiate workers from employees. I think one of the things that we wanted to think about was the the independent contractor workforce.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I assumed. I just wanted to
Yeah.
confirm that.
No, fair enough. We had a little debate too about some of the wordsmithing there. So, but yeah, that was the goal there. Okay. And we can also, obviously, Senator Clarkson, given that this is your first look at this, if you have time later and something occurs that you want us to add to this, we can always go back and do that.
Yeah, I think both Mike and I haven't had an in-depth opportunity to really.
Okay. Of course, no problem.
You just sent it this morning, right?
No.
No. Oh, when did you send it?
It was just a reminder.
So blood. So when did you send it? No, just
A few days ago.
We know it's a busy, you're busy legislating and doing all that work. So no worries. We just wanted to hope to start the conversation, just make sure we're getting everything right. So
I think if those of us who are actually in the middle of doing legislative stuff, it is like, unless we have a weekend to look at something, I don't usually have time to read anything. Very little.
now you're getting the Cliff Note version, the sort of the pre-read.
Okay. So
all right.
What do you want us to, you have data collection, performance management. Are you wanting feedback on whether these are the right things we want to incorporate?
Yeah, yes. Or if there's sort of structural things that you had interest in.
Another way to think about these pieces, these components, is that as we design these models that you want to see, these are kind of the components that we would be recommending an approach to, how it's organized, how funding decisions are made, that kind of thing. These are the pieces that we're going to be looking to answer.
How it's coordinated, how we measure performance, how are we doing so that we can have once a year a report on how are we doing in workforce development.
Yeah.
Data, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think we need to understand too that what are some of the issues that we're going to come up against? So we're creating a, we want a governance system, but we also have departments and agencies that have to function on their own. And how do we create a system that everyone can operate under?
Yes.
And are actually wanting to operate under.
And working together.
Right.
So de-siloing.
Right.
I think a key piece of this is de-siloing some of it so that everybody's working constructively together and not competing with each other.
Right.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind. The other thing that we just wanted to flag for all of you on the review is just that we've highlighted the work plan. If you want to move on to that part, Kendall, that we've thank you so much for the extending the date through the summer. I think that's going to help allow us to have a lot more time to engage with stakeholders and see what's happening this spring. But also recognizing that you all are very busy people and this is a busy season for you. What we want to do is take this list of activities that are about what we're doing, but also map in and marble in all of the engagements with the SOCWID so that when we hit a milestone, there is opportunity for us to have a more substantive conversation, as well as key points where we'll be delivering, product status updates. So the only thing I wanted to mention around timeline is if there are forums or other events or other products that are happening in this environment, workforce writ large, if there's anything that you think that it would be advantageous for us to attend or observe, let us know so that we can build that into the timeline.
I have one question on that. So for example, today, Chair Marcotte, you took testimony, I think, from some folks on workforce from higher education and from an organization called Advance Vermont. So this is, I guess, a question for the task force. If there is testimony going on like that on workforce, is that something that we should highlight for PCG ahead of time, should they want to tune in or watch the recording on YouTube later?
Good point. Yes.
Well, yeah, I guess I would ask BCG, is that type of information helpful to making, coming up with the final product?
Absolutely.
I
think so.
Make sure that I can have my committee assistant email you when we are taking these up, and you can certainly watch on YouTube. We can let you know, and you can pull that up anytime.
Okay.
Same with
yeah, and once the bill comes, once the workforce bill or anything related to workforce, yeah, so then that's good.
Excellent.
On our assistants' radar, our committee assistants are great about that.
Perfect. Yeah, we want to just collect and gather as much as possible, which I guess in the spirit of talking about collecting and gathering, I do want to highlight it's in the document here, Kendall suggested that Abby make begin making a stakeholder list, and the wheels were turning, and so we just started collecting names and organizations and agencies and kind of built a preliminary list. It is very unfiltered, I guess. We look to you all to help us prioritize and figure out which of those would be worth having from your perspective. I don't know that we could do all of them, but if there's some, we can talk about that at another time. But we just wanted to offer that as something that is a component of this project plan.
And the list you've started is the list that's here, that's very short. Additional project stakeholders. What are you referring to?
There's a separate Excel spreadsheet in the email that you got from Abby.
Well,
And that's why we didn't include it in the project plan, because it's rough, it's preliminary. These are just the categories, but we just started to think through like, oh, who, based on our web research, who might fit into some of those categories. So
we'd have to look at that to have a response.
that would be great.
Okay, can't do that. It's just too complicated.
Yeah, no, we don't have to do that now. Definitely not now, Senator Clarkson. Yeah, that's a later thing. But what we do want to do in the time that remains is probably, if you go to the next part, Kendall, is talk a little bit about these research questions that, as we are gathering information, whether it's from a desk review of resources or as we conduct.
Have I gone too far? Sorry, what page am I supposed to be on right now?
Oh, sorry.
Is it communication plan? I don't know where.
Communication plan or project deliverables and approval? Sorry.
This one here. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Project deliverables.
Project deliverables. I didn't. Okay, project deliverables and approval. Okay.
Yep. So you'll see on part 2, deliverable number 2, when we're doing the current state assessment, we've identified some questions that we might probe on as we're collecting information and mapping. And this is where we're really hoping to get your feedback and input to see if these resonate with you. I think, Kendall, your suggestion about journey mapping is spot on. I'm really glad you added that. I think there'll be a lot that we can gather from just even doing that documentation process.
Sorry, word is journey mapping.
I put it in a comment, Senator Clarkson, here to the side under description of Vermont's existing workforce system. I thought I'd brought this here for conversation, if it would be possible to do some journey mapping, potentially, I don't know how eloquently I put it here, but from a couple different perspectives. So if you're somebody that's looking either for employment or for training and you're interacting with state government or to a certain extent partners in the community, like what does your journey look like and what's the outcome? Or similarly, maybe if you're an employer and you're looking for help to identify employees, and again, you're interacting with a component of the workforce system that we identify here, what does your experience look like? What does your journey look like? Are there warm handoffs, or where are we breaking down and making referrals, et cetera?
Yeah, that's critically important because it does go to how we're succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, yeah. All that, how that's managed, how the journey is managed is, I think, directly related to our success.
That can also be different from areas of the state too.
Yeah.
Are there areas of the state that are doing it better than other areas of the state?
Well, my guess is it's like teachers, if you have a buddy, a mentor going through this whole system with you, it's like a teacher, but better, you perform up to that wonderfully, as good as your mentor is or as good as your teacher is in some ways. I mean, it would be great if everybody in this system had a mentor that they had to work with and then evaluated it at the end.
I think it's also important here to note in this section again that we're looking for components of the system outside of state government.
Yeah.
So not limited to that. So just really being explicit with that.
Yep.
So I'm just going to be really stupid here because I don't even see where your journey mapping is. And all I was thinking of was Prague to Vienna to Budapest. And then I realized what you're talking about, journey mapping. It makes total sense, but I don't see it here. Am I crazy?
It's in a comment. If you look at the big screen,
there
you should see the comments.
We don't.
That's here.
Okay.
Like,
I don't see that here. Do you? Am I missing
you
it?
gotta tap on the comment.
Go back into the Teams meeting and it'll show up.
Okay, don't worry about it. I'm going to take your word for it. Now I understand what it means.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a great idea. A great addition.
Cool. So I think, we were thinking as we interact with entities, whether they're inside state or outside state government, how are people aligning? Are they driven by, are, are their priorities aligned to the vision? is there, are there places where innovation is happening and people are adapting faster and more rapidly than in other places? Are there, what are the, you know, what's the, are there trust and is there trust in the coordination and partnership and when entities are collaborating? So I think those are those 5 questions there are what we offer, but obviously those we can revise those as you have time to reflect over the, next week or so.
Well,
I think what you'll find as you make your way around the state is that there are different sort of centers of gravity in different parts of the region. So in some places, because we do not have WIBs, there are sort of legacy structures to when we did have WIBs 4+ years ago. So in some of those regions, those collective partnerships still exist, and folks are just doing this organically. And then in other regions where maybe that was weaker foundation, that it's really just crumbled and no longer present. So in regions that do have a vibrant conversation still happening, there's up and down. There's information collected locally, shared with statewide partners, and information coming through the statewide partners to those local groups. And then in other areas, it's sort of in other regions, it's sort of a desert. So part of the challenge here is building a system that allows that coordinated effort between regional efforts and statewide to exist statewide and not just in certain pockets.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, but also we also have two reports we're waiting on. We have 2 different consultants that are working on the CTE system.
Yeah.
One is at the high school level, and part of it is looking at the regional advisory boards for the career centers and how can we utilize those regional advisory boards as what WIBs used to do. Where they're tied into the businesses and with the career centers. So those reports should be coming out, I think, next month, and those might be something for you all to look at as well.
Yeah, and the other report is about how we can better fund and do.
Well, that's part of that one,
Yeah,
and then there's the adult side of CTE as well.
Okay, great. Perfect. These are exactly those kinds of things we were hoping to preview in this conversation.
Yes, and those are being run through the Joint Fiscal Office, right? The one, the name of the consultant who's doing,
AOE, Agency of Education
is doing one, but I guess Joint Fiscal did the contracting.
Yeah, but I think AOE is the one that everything's been run through AOE.
Okay.
But I know that, and Jay is familiar with those as well.
Okay.
No, he wasn't able to be here.
But yeah, and those are due back in the next month or so.
Perfect. Your mention of Jay actually is I think potentially if people are okay with these questions as a starting point, and we can evolve as we start to collect information and engage with you over the next, foreseeable number of weeks. One of the questions that we did have in the project plan was around sort of project management resolution of day-to-day items. So obviously we're going to have dates on the calendar with the whole group, but inevitably in doing some of this work, something comes up and we need to consult with someone in a sooner rather than later context. And in the document, here you go. Thank you, Kendall. We had proposed that we would raise an issue with you, Representative Marcotte. And then you could sort of let us know if there is, if it's a question that needs to be brought to the whole group, or if it's something that we can just, you could direct us to the right person or resource. But let us know if you think that's the right strategy, or if there's another way you'd like us to go about handling those kinds of questions.
I'm fine with that. we have, we have plenty of people here to figure out where to send you, so yeah, you can touch base with me first and we can figure it out.
Fabulous. And then the last thing we wanted to talk with you about was just engaging with external stakeholders. Again, sort of acknowledging that everybody here is very, very busy and has lots of responsibilities, and you're even.
Is that your kind of the communication plan? Is that what you're?
Yeah, with externals.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we'd just like to understand from you how best you'd like us to proceed. Clients ask us to operate in a range of ways. Some places they like to be the gatekeeper and introduce us to the stakeholder and say, they're working with us on this project. And then they make the handoff. And other places they say, go for it. Just reach out to people and stick to the script. And we're good. So we just wanted to check in with you and see what your preference is.
I think I'm always a go for it kind of girl.
Okay.
What do you think?
No, I'm fine with that. I'm just wondering, just to make sure that people take you seriously and not thinking that you're on a fishing expedition for information. So
maybe you mean like a letter of introduction we could do?
Right.
Maybe we could do a letter of introduction from SOCWED so that you can send that attached to your email request for time.
Okay.
Would that make sense? I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I think so. That way we may get more engagement.
Yeah, I think that would be great, especially if our names are on it. Because I could imagine I'm going to use this as an example because I brought up some programs in the Agency of Commerce. If you were to reach out to the Agency of Commerce and say, like, we want to talk to you about these programs, what you're doing in workforce, they might bristle a little bit and be like, what, who, why, huh? And then I'll get a call in the governor's office and they'll say, there's this company that's trying to talk to us about our programs and we don't know what they want. So,
right.
I would, at least in terms of internal state government, I could either if we do a letter and it has names on it and they see my name on it, they'll be more apt to reply and not bristle. But also, if you let me know the list of agencies that you plan to reach out to, I can also help facilitate some of those to make sure that you are getting the proper timely attention that we need here, and it's not getting deprioritized amongst their other demands.
Yeah.
So you could keep me on the loop on those, it would be helpful.
Yeah. And I think the same is, to the CPE centers, we send it to employers, and other community organizations. I think if they see something from us as an official government introduction to you, that it'd be more helpful.
I think that's wise.
100%. Okay, good. I appreciate that that offer, and we will gladly take you up on that. So as we come to the end of our hour together, I just want to check in with you and see if there's just anything generically that you and I know for those of you who have read it, you commented, and I think what I'll say is for Senator Clarkson and Representative Marcotte, if you want to get back to us on anything that stands out or that you observe as you have more time to process it, please just let us know if there's anything you want to address. But otherwise, we'll take this as the plan. And so our next steps will be to probably think through, get your feedback on a stakeholder list and prioritization. Obviously, I think we'll start with you all to get some maybe some one-on-one time and just kind of probe a little bit further in terms of what you're like, some of the things you talked about, Adam, in terms of the unevenness, and give us some direction around how you would segment and maybe prioritize some of the regional focused work. But then we'll get to work on just thinking about data requests and developing our scripts. But before we close, one thing that we did think about was, especially in the spirit of making connections to other communities, the National Association for Workforce Board Conference is coming up at the end of March. And we didn't know if anybody was planning to attend, but Ron, we had some ideas about, do you want to speak to some of the ideas we had around potentially like just bringing people together?
Yeah, obviously there's probably about 1,200 people that are going to be at the conference. Gives us an opportunity to examine different topics that some of the boards, some of the states are working on. So gives us an opportunity to do some focus groups, do some conversations. We also are pretty excited. We're working with the Organization for Economic and Community Development, OECD, which is based in Paris and has 41 signatory countries, of which the US is one. We're going to be welcoming 4 or 5 different country delegations. So we're working on putting together their schedule while they're here. So it gives us an opportunity to also examine some of the latest practices that they're involved with. So we kind of wanted to do that. We thought if anybody from Vermont was coming, we are going to do a dinner. We're with the delegation from OECD. If somebody from Vermont is going to be there, we'd certainly like you to join us to hang out with them.
And that's Saturday, March 25th.
Right. We'll be talking about apprenticeship all day, and then they're going to join us for a plenary session on Monday morning to talk about what they're thinking.
And where is this big shindig?
It is in DC.
Adam, was that anything you were planning to attend?
I just saw the invitation to that the day I got back from the NGA meeting in DC. So may have given the time that I can to that travel already.
If Adam, maybe you could circulate the invite to the other members of the SOCWED and we can take a look and see if we can get someone there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kendall, if there is, or Adam, if there is interest, let me know. And Mel and I will work with you on our EVP. Mel and I will work with you on all things related to that.
Great.
Awesome.
If I could ask one follow-up question on kind of timeline. So there's definitely a couple of things in this document that you need from us. So we talked about just most recently, like the introductory letter to people that you could attach to your outreach. Us finalizing that list of stakeholders. There's probably other things embedded in the comments that I had to go back and look. Do you have, I don't know, I'm speaking on behalf of myself right now, not on behalf of the task force, but I work better if I know when things are due, and if there's never due, they get pushed way down on my to-do list. So if you're able to maybe in a follow-up email to us outline when you'd like to have some of these things back or target dates, that might help incite us to action for you. So we're not the bottleneck.
Will do.
And I,
Good point, Kendall.
Yeah, I think as a normal kind of ritual for this group is we will have a running list of like the outstanding requests that we have. I think the other thing is that we should always publish to this group any planned or completed stakeholder contacts that we make, just so that you know where we're at. So you can't expect those things from us.
Excellent.
and is the objective to try and touch base like this once a month?
Yes.
Okay.
And
we'll
probably
have the tech piece figured out.
Well, depending on the time of day, I could use my committee room and we could set up a Zoom feed, so.
Yeah. Well, we could have done that here too. Yeah. This is a nice little room.
Yeah, this is a good room to be in as well.
But yeah, we just need to get our act together on our part.
it's all good. It's really excited to kick this project off, and like you said, Kendall, we'll always, as we described and you asked for, there'll be a running list of who's accountable for what by when, and yeah, we look forward to have any further feedback in the short run on the document for sure.
Yeah. So are you? Yeah. Well, you'll get those to Kendall, I assume, and we need to maybe Adam. Anyway, we're going to clearly need to meet to agree to get some of that worked out together.
Right. We'll get the workforce list that we have now.
Yeah.
We'll circulate it around to the other members and see if we need to add more to it before we get to you. You know, I can work with Kendall on getting a letter together. We'll circulate that to the other members of the task force and get that to you as well.
Perfect. All right. I think that's all we had on our end.
Okay, anything else?
Wait, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
I'm still thinking of the journey mapping being Prague, Vienna, and Budapest. That's like my idea of a journey map. But I think it's it's nice, it's a great journey. Have fun.
All right.
Hey,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
I don't know how we exit out of here, but I assume we figured this out.